and I am driving and thriving here on the road, almost all the way back to the Quad Cities in Iowa. I was in New York yesterday. I didn't even do a straight shot from the Baby Maker from New York to Iowa. I had to go down to Virginia first. So I've literally been on the road almost the last 24 hours with just a small break to eat and to take a nap. But I wanted to talk about one of the more interesting conversations of total absurdity that I had over the weekend in New York. Now, the reason I went to New York was it was my first alumni weekend for my fraternity, Iota Tau Kappa, 55th anniversary in 2 years because of the COVID-19 84 nightmare and restrictions. And, you know, I've talked a lot about Bernas talking points about a generation that has just been so captivated by the television, the screen, the authoritarian, not authoritative, the authoritarian talking points of the news media, the politicians, and really what I would consider a mainstream New World Order narrative. Because we're living in it, baby. The New World Order is absolutely 100% here with things like what? The Ministry of Truth. Okay? So I wanted to start with this conversation. Somehow, election integrity gets brought up with a gentleman who I like. I don't know very well. He's a generation older than me, so, 10, 15 years on. And, he explains how he's been a poll worker before in the past and how he feels that voting should be very, very accessible for everybody. Now, first of all, I want to say this. Not accessible for everybody, every citizen that can vote. All right, there are rules, there are restrictions. You're supposed to be a citizen of this country. You also can't be a felon. There's some other things out there. And I said, you know what, I agree with you there. He was talking about, for instance, lines in Georgia and people waiting 5 or 6 hours to vote and being disenfranchised. And I said, you know what, man, we can agree on that. I go, I like Greg Palast's work. It's something he's been talking about for 2 decades, okay? And I think it's a valid thing to discuss. So he has no idea who Greg Palast is, and this idea of election integrity is all about talking points he's heard on television, and that's all. And really the talking points that empower a system where there is no accountability, there are no real audits, and we just go with the imagination land that everything is okay. I want to make that abundantly clear, because I began to talk about, hey, this is how we can fix the elections, believe it or not. And I'm just going to go over it again to try to reiterate how I want free, fair, and accountable, let me repeat that, accountable elections, not just for the presidency, not just for the Senate and the House and governors, but everywhere. It's very simple. Very, very simple. And I explained to him, one person, one vote, you show up, you don't mail it in. The exceptions, of course, would be if you went to get your ballot, say at the post office, a real absentee ballot where you're showing your identification. It's not just mailed to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and here you go. We start there. And then I say to him, again, that there are no voting machines. We hand count the votes. Let me say it again. Hand count the votes. I said to him, we agree that, as a species, a human species, we're able to do arithmetic pretty early. 1 + 1 + 1, that's 3, right? 1 + 1 + 1, that's 3. We can do that. We don't need a machine to do that. And we don't need fractional voting. And I also mentioned to him, I said, during the Carter-Baker look at election integrity and voting, a lot of people wanted to bring up the fact that they talked about how mail-in voting would be rife with fraud, right? But I said the thing that I've been focusing on for a very long time was that I don't trust these machines, whether they're Dominion now or Diebold of yesteryear, all right? And even Jimmy Carter, who obviously politically, in most cases, I would never agree with, said that there should be at least a 1 to 3% random audit of all machines if we were going to use them. I would argue that's super low if you're going to use machines. I would argue even a 10% audit is super low. Let's get that out of the way. So here it is. You show up, you vote. Okay, you do have to show some kind of identification. The votes are then placed in an area that no one can get to, that is on camera the entire time, just like everybody who's actually voting. Now, we'll never see how they vote, because as they come out of that area, somebody will put a piece of tape or whatever over their top information, and then it will move on, and all of this on camera, to the people actually counting the ballots. And as the ballots are counted, there are video cameras, and they're live streaming. And anybody can watch these live streams as it happens. Wow! And then, of course, there's a video record after the fact. It's an automatic audit. They never leave. They're on camera the whole time. Nothing is perfect, but this is the closest we have. Okay? And, of course, this was too difficult for him to understand. There were excuses. He said, well, I've done the polling with other people before, and some of these people are in their 70s and they take forever. Okay, you don't hire those people. These contracts that we have with privatized corporations and no oversight will spend the money on actual people that have to qualify for a job, that can count, that aren't moving at a snail's pace. I know, wild. And then he comes in again one more time with the complaint that, well, how long have you ever taken to vote? And admittedly, I have lived in smaller areas, and I don't think I've waited more. He goes, 15 minutes? And I go, honestly, probably 5. And I go, but you're really making a false argument, because it'd take me 15 minutes because of government bureaucracy at the DMV here to get something done. Whereas here in Iowa, where I'm at, we're not talking hours. Sometimes we're talking days or weeks, and you've got to make an appointment. Or if you are in the office and you do have an emergency, you can be sitting there for hours. I go, so you're really talking about a regional thing and something that could be fixed. And so, of course, it was funny. Oh, I bet you think that, Joe Biden's not legitimate. Of course, he thinks he's got the 81 million locked up. And I just brought this up. And this is where we're going to get to trusting the science. Okay? Trusting the science of election integrity today, folks. So I say to him, you do realize that the state Supreme Court in Pennsylvania ruled that all mail-in ballots were completely unconstitutional and invalid. And he acted like it didn't exist because it wasn't on CNN, and it wasn't on MSNBC, and it wasn't in the New York Times. And then he said he was too busy. See, he's too busy to read the information I just presented or acknowledge that it's a reality. He literally said to me, I'm not reading your stuff. It's not my stuff. I'm not on the state Supreme Court. I'm not involved in constitutional law. Okay? So as I tried to bring it up to establish that this was indeed a fact, and I said to him, if they throw out all the mail-in ballots, whether it's for Trump or Biden in Pennsylvania, I go, who wins? Who had more mail-in ballots, do you think? And of course, it would be absurd to think that Joe Biden didn't have more mail-in ballots. But again, this can't be real to him. In fact, he said, I live in my own reality because I can read on a 4th grade level, and I know how to use Google to bring up the court case from the state Supreme Court in Pennsylvania that shows this, okay? That happened a couple months ago that there was almost an entire media blackout on, all right? I live in my own reality, and as he's getting upset and he's walking away and he wants to, get away from the fact that he might actually have to look into this, and it's not like the election is going to be overturned. He was very happy that Ashley Babbitt got shot in D.C. He's very happy that people that went into the Capitol are still in jail. He thinks what happened there is disgusting. He thought they were trying to overthrow the government. It's all comedy. And the biggest comedic point is as he's going away, he says, I believe in science. So once again, we're talking about an election integrity, one person, one vote, audits, accountability, our democratic process in a constitutional republic, and really the separation of powers between the federal government and the state government. And state governments, time and time again, with all of these type of mandates, whether it's the mandates in which they just said we're going to change the voting laws, or the mandates that made you wear something or put something in your body, they're all getting tossed out. Because that's not how it works. That's not how you make laws. That's outside of the Constitution. But he believes in science. He believes in science. I mean, does he believe in computer science? Is he a biology major? Perhaps it's chemistry or physics that he believes in. I mean, I really want you to think about how brainwashed these people are. And again, he's a good person, but he doesn't have time to read these things. He's chosen his narrative and literally refuses to acknowledge any information outside of that narrative. So when it gets to a counter talking point, all he knows is the one that's been regurgitated on his screens and on the radio over the last year and a half. I believe in science. As if I'm some sort of wizard sorcerer that prays to rocks and doesn't believe in science. I mean, what science do you believe in? Do you believe in Nazi science? Perhaps you believe in the Department of Hygiene that they use to get the unclean, And you believe that their essential workers were good too, right? Go back to that scene in Schindler's List. I am essential. I mean, maybe he believes in the science of censorship. The one that allows me to have almost 67,000 subscribers on YouTube, owned by Google, owned by Alphabet, which is a Trojan horse civilian system working with NASA and the Defense Department. And you better believe they'll be working with Homeland Security and the Ministry of Truth as well, okay? Where they run an algorithm where I can't get 1/1000th of my audience live to watch. Despite my numbers of retention being over the top, I'm surely not going to be monetized, right? So that is the science of election integrity. These people are shot. They are gone. They're lost. I don't know what else to say. They steam off in a huff like children. They don't mind in their 50s and 60s being told what to do. I'm a fucking grown man, okay? I've been a grown man for a very long time. I'm 42. In my teenage years, In my teenage years, you know what I longed for? I longed for my own domain, okay? Over my own body, over my own decisions, accountability, responsibility. And these people don't have it. They are ready to bend the knee to literally any authoritarian dictate that Anderson Cooper and Rachel Maddow and the rest of them pump out there. You too, Sean Hannity. You too, buddy. It's not just MSNBC and CNN, it's Fox too. And, you know, this is the paradox of when I was trying to warn people about what the war on terror really was and what happened on 9/11. And people wanted to believe, well, you know, those left-wing media outlets, they're a little bit less warmongering and they're telling a little bit more truth that maybe the weapons of mass destruction don't exist now. No. It's a circular paradigm to keep you locked in to a two-party system of hate and lies on the way to a very real New World Order agenda that's now being presented as a great reset with their great narrative, which is nothing more than a transhumanist agenda that will literally enslave and exterminate what is left of humanity unless we fight back. So guys, I want to thank you for doing me on this little ride along. I should be back in Iowa after driving a whole lot in the next hour and a half or so. And I'm announcing some changes. There's going to be some big changes with the way I'm broadcasting with Rockfin. We're going to be pushing a lot more people to Podbean and possibly some other platforms. That doesn't mean we're done with Rockfin, but it does mean we are going to be changing things a lot because of the way the system is set up there. You know, unfortunately, right now, Rockfin is simply not thriving or delivering on the economic end on the way I need it to, so that I can continue to do videos on the regular. You know, I'm going to be home for the next week or so I'm going to try to pump out as much content as possible, but then I will also be on my way to South Carolina in Myrtle Beach, where I'll be speaking at Clay Clark's Reawaken America Tour. And once again, I can't wait to speak to most of these people, because a lot of these people are very much mainline conservatives stuck in the right-left paradigm, okay? And I'm going to be talking about what? Transhumanism, NASA technology, DARPA technology, Dennis Bushnell, and the truth about Elon Musk. So guys, thumbs it up, subscribe, share. I'd say right now the best way to support me is honestly PayPal. If you can do that, that's a big help. Hopefully they're not going to kick me off, but we're going to find other avenues to do that as well. I couldn't do it without you guys. I absolutely love you, and I'll see you on the flip side.